Okay, so good evening. This is week 6, so we are halfway there. Yay! Week 12 is only around the corner now. So tonight's theme is what we see walking. So we're carrying on from last week's theme. We're going to be having a look at printing, painting, drawing, and maybe a little bit of sculpture, but it's up to you what materials you have. So if you don't have these materials, please don't, or these resources, please don't stress out. You can do these in your own time. You can take notes. You can have this tutorial as a reference for later teaching. So my advice would be to maybe download the tutorials that you have, you have in the last 6 weeks, and have them on file so you can use them within the classroom as a reference point. Okay, so the first thing we are going to start off with is nature prints, because we are looking at the when we go walking theme. What do we see? So we're out in nature, and providing the children with the opportunity to collect materials from nature is a bonus because it's cheap. There's a variety of shapes. We can talk about irregular and regular shapes. We can talk about the variety of colours in nature. But for this instance, we're looking at stamping or, stamping, and then we'll go into a few more natural prints. Okay, so the learning intention within the classroom is to create a print from a variety of found textured surfaces. Okay, because we want to replicate that textured surface and print it onto a piece of paper so we can visually see the texture. We want them to discover natural textures through printmaking methods, and we want them to duplicate the surface of a found object through the experimentation and application of paint. So the resources are paper, paint, and naturally found objects. Now I just went out a moment ago and I found some beautiful big leaves. And I love this because there is a section taken out of the leaf. So whether it has just, someone walked on it, or whether an animal has bitten it, or an insect has bitten it. Okay, so variety of shapes within the leaves. I also found some little gum nuts, bark off a tree, bean pods or seed pods, and leopard tree seed pods. So quite a variety. I've got the seeds inside. I could even stencil those if I wish. Now, hoping you have got the materials with you. Like I said, if you don't, then you can do this at your own leisure. I'm going to take these out. I'm just going to paint the surface of this bean pod first and see what we come up with. Paint it blue. I'm just going to do a little bit of stamping. Now, can you guys see my paper?
Yes.
Yeah, you can. Good. Okay. So I'm stamping the shape of the bean pod. So we've got a round shape. So once you've done all the stamping or the printmaking, then you can respond to this with the children, and respond by talking about the different textures that they have created on their page from the found pieces. Leaves are good because you get those beautiful, nice lines within. So it's simply painting the leaf. And the children absolutely love the experimentation or the exploration and investigation of actually being able to print this. I think it's magic. The amount of times I've done printmaking and the children have just been like in awe that they can actually duplicate something. Okay, so I'll just squash that down. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. So using their fine motor muscles in their fingers, and got quite a nice print there, nice large print. Now, if I keep on doing that, I'm going to find various textures that will appear on my paper. So this one, I should see a lot of lines. And, you know, questioning them beforehand and asking them what they can see with their eye and what they might be able to see when they do make the print is a topic of conversation too. Okay, so I've got some nice line work there. How are we going at home? Are you doing this? Oh, nice one, Linda. Yep, lots of variety in shapes and colours there. So you can imagine what you can discuss with the children. When you do explore this, it's, you know, there's a selection of possibilities what you might do with these prints. So, but just for the exploration purpose and the investigation, it's cheap. You've got the resources at hand. It's just a matter of going out and collecting it, or giving the children a bucket or a basket and asking the child to collect. Now, I like doing that because, you know, on the school ground or within centres, we have got trees, so we can collect a whole lot of resources from around our immediate environment, or we can take them for a walk and we can go walking as the theme suggests. So got some nice prints there. Now, how can I extend this further? Oh, sorry. How can I extend this further? What could I do? Oh, actually, I'll just go through this. Stamping technique. So, what have I got here? Students will explore nature, looking for an array of textured surfaces. Encourage the students to feel the texture of the natural object. So is it bumpy? Is it rough? Is it smooth? Exploring kinesthetic and visual exploration. And then you've got the stamping technique, which provides, you know, this is our direction, provides students with trays of various colours. Students will dip or apply the paint to the surface of the object. Students will paint, stamp object onto a piece of paper. Discuss the various textures presented on the paper. Bumpy, do they look visibly bumpy, rough, spiky, smooth, for instance. Elements explored are texture and colour and shape, okay? Principles explored, repetition. We could do the spraying technique, which is, again, lovely to do. So, stenciling, so I'll move my piece of paper over. The children can lay a number of leaves on a page or the bean pod, and I'll use the leopard seed pod here. Get some gum leaves. Oh, get messy here. I'll just lay these down. I'll get my little sprayer. And this size sprayer is available to purchase on any at any craft shop. Can you see where is it? Hang on. Can you see? Okay, let's have a little look here. So if I spray, I could stamp. And these are great. These are, you can dot with these, so you can actually, you know, the paint runs through to the sponge. I'll use this one. And you can dot around the leaf, dot around the object. So either spraying or dabbing or brushing. I could use my paintbrush. I could use a sponge, actually. That's what I'll do. I'll use a sponge and I'll just dab around this sleeve leaves an impression. So it leaves we do a positive and negative print. So as you can see, we've got the negative. All right. So have a little go at that at home if you can. These are great. I don't know whether I showed you these last week. I'm getting really messy here. There's paint everywhere. Oops. Yeah, for the little ones who are a little bit hypersensitive and do not want to use their fingers or use a spray bottle, then you have got sponges where they can dip into the paint and dob. Okay, so again, using those fine motor, and that again exploring a different resource to actually create mark making. Okay, so I've jumped ahead there. Yep. So as you can see, different prints here, and then we've got the children who are exploring, through painting and various things. This is a table of kids here exploring the different resources, and this is the spray method. So you can actually buy those big spray bottles, fill them up with watercolor. You can get that Tintex powdered dye, fill it up, make it really, really rich in pigment, and let the kids go for it. As long as they've got, they've got an apron on or old clothes, you're pretty much okay. All right. So I've got leaf prints here. Now we did some leaf printing there, of course, in our nature prints, but the intention is to create a print from a variety of leaves, to discover the lines exposed on the leaf printed, to duplicate the surface of a found object through the experimentation and application of paint. The elements that we explore with this one is line, colour, texture, shape. Principle is repetition, because we are repeating the prints. Resources, leaves, paint and paper. Again, very accessible and very cheap to do. So technique, provide a small plate or palette of paint, or provide small bottles of varying coloured paints for the children to choose from. Students can then squeeze the chosen colours into the palette so they can choose their own colours. I like to provide them with paint, in bottles about this size, and little squeezy bottles, like little sauce bottles, and let them squeeze it themselves, because then again you're supporting fine motor development. So students can apply the paint to the surface of the leaf using a paintbrush or sponge roller. Students will place the leaf painted down, like I've just showed you. Encourage the students to carefully but firmly press the leaf onto the paper. Encourage the students to print the whole leaf by rubbing the leaf gently. What could we do with the leaves? Let's think about it. What could we do with the leaves? How could we extend that to for them to actually create another composition? Thinking about the past, 6 weeks. Anybody? How could we use the leaves? No? Okay, what about cutting them out? What about using them in a collage? How about we look at the shapes of the leaf? For instance, this leaf. What could we turn that leaf into using our imagination? What could we? It could be a row of trees. It could be the body of a lizard, if we drew our own arms. It could be, this one could be a little mouse, the body of a mouse, and we add our ears. It could be, what else? What else could we make? Have to use your imagination.
We can make little insects.
Yep, like little insects. Yeah, nice. Some fish, looks like a fish's body. We could do a school of fish with repetitive prints, couldn't we? And then when they're dry, we could add, some tails, fins, ourselves by drawing on the dried prints. So there's a whole lot you can do to extend the children's learning. Now, I didn't print this, but these seed pods are fantastic. Beautiful texture. If you're creating something in clay, then actually putting the pod onto the clay and pushing it into the clay leaves that beautiful impression. And yeah, it's another way of printmaking. So you can push all these into clay and they leave a beautiful impression. Okay, so the next exploration, oh gosh, I've got this chair that I use and it's my daughter's gaming chair or whatever. It's so heavy. All right, so this one is called Walking Down the Street. So this is a visualization through questioning and discussion. So I'll have the children sit down first and we talk about what they would see as they walk down their street. So the learning intention is students will explore ideas, experiences, observations and imagination to create a streetscape. Students will create the streetscape using drawing and painting techniques. So the task is you ask the children to lie down and close their eyes. You ask them to imagine that you are walking, they are walking or riding a scooter, riding their bike down their street. Now they do it every day in the car. They drive up and down their street or their road or down their court with their parents. They could walk there, you know, they could walk down their street numerous amounts of times. They could ride their bikes out the front of their house if they're lucky enough to. But they do it, but we tend to take it for granted, don't we? That, you know, something as common as our own street. Do we recognise the shapes? Do we recognise the colours within our street and the different objects on our street? So I get them to imagine that they are walking down the street. You know, who do they see? What do they see day after day? What colours can you see? You know, are there reds, greens, browns? You know, they might come up with some answers like that. Purples because of the flowers. What shapes can you see? What's in your garden? So it might be an answer like my garden has irregular or organic shapes, because prior knowledge, they might have looked at, you know, that we might have been talking about irregular and organic shapes, regular shapes. So you need to introduce them to different vocab and different visual literacies. Circles, rectangles, they could give you all sorts of shapes. Okay, so ask the children to sit up and again, ask the questions. Discuss as a whole group and possible responses: trees, roads, houses, dogs, flowers, mummy, daddy, grass. My house has squares, rectangle squares. My garden has irregular or organic shapes. Yeah, so lots of vocab. Technique, observational and imaginative drawing and painting. Ask the children to draw what they saw when their eyes were closed. Students will explore the medium of paint to provide the drawing with colour. So first off, it would be an exploration with either pens or pencils. After they have finished their composition, ask the children to now draw themselves in the composition, walking, sitting on a bike or riding a scooter. And the extension exploration for that one would be collage. So actually applying or cutting out some shapes. So if we have a look at this one, this is a quick drawing that I've done of myself riding my scooter down my street. And I can see the various shapes. This is pure imagination, you know, because I'm not there. So although it's an observation, it is coming from what I perceive too. So using my imagination. So I'll give you some time to actually explore that. So visualizing what is in your street and what it would look like from your perspective if you were walking down the street. Okay, so I'll leave you be to do that, and then we'll have a look at those in a moment. So I'll pause the recording right now, and everyone who is watching this recording, let's visualize and have a little bit of a go at drawing what is on our street. Okay, all right. Do you guys who are here, do you want to go into a breakout room and draw this, or would you rather draw it, have a go at drawing it, you know, individually? If we had children
individually.
Okay, if we had children in the classroom, it would be more of social interaction, and they would be talking about what is on their street, what shapes they're drawing, what did they see, you know, things like that. But yeah, you guys have a go at it individually, and I'll just do a quick pause. Okay, so we just looked at ephemeral art. We looked at Andy Goldsworthy, the Andy Goldsworthy video here, and we've just been talking about the inspiration of ephemeral artworks within the schools. Would anyone like to add to the discussion? Come on, guys, let's chat. How could you extend it? Okay.
For the younger children, like when you were talking about the autumn leaves, you could bring in like maths and look at sorting and categorizing the different coloured autumn leaves as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. We could have an integrated approach. Yep, certainly could. And then actually placing them into different shapes. Yep. So we're categorizing the colours, categorizing the shapes. Really early maths, isn't it, Megan? And Marcella? I'm guessing that's
I'm
your
not
daughter?
sure why. I'm Megan. I'm not sure why it says Marcella. I'm still at work, and we did a training a while ago, and one of my work colleagues is Marcella.
Yeah, right.
And the people changed it, and I can't work out how to change it
I thought it might have been your daughter, actually. But
No.
What about you, Julia? What do you think? What's your response to the ephemeral artworks?
Yeah, I thought they were really creative, and I think like showing that video to students can really inspire them to think about nature differently and how they can use it to create art.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think, you know, like I was saying before, taking them out into the environment, you know, like even showing them something like this, it might be a bit long for small children, but taking segments out of it would be great. But even exploring this, you know, exploring what he was talking about with your children, you know, coming from your narration would be acceptable. You know, it's just a matter of you gaining inspiration yourself and seeing the worth of nature to actually explore it further. All right, so would anybody else like to share? What about you, Kamal?
Yeah, it was really nice seeing the artworks and like how they created, and just like you can just get the kids to do like their own versions when going out and creating like the artworks themselves. Even like they can just like, you can use one of those artworks as inspiration, but get them to create like their own version of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, correct. I think that would be a great starting point. Even setting up a provocation in the morning, you know, setting up some stones in a spiral or something like that that the kids come across within the environment might be a great idea too. So coming up with some sort of hook to get them thinking, maybe collecting some leaves yourself and sitting there placing them, you know, inciting some interest or some engagement from the children to help you. All right, let's go on and have a little look. I do, for those people who are watching the recording, please watch the Andy Goldsworthy video and have a look at yourself, have a look at it, and have a look at the beautiful artworks Andy Goldsworthy does create and what he talks about, because it's quite inspirational, this video, for us as adults, but I'm sure it would be for children too. Okay, so this is a little bit about Andy Goldsworthy. So he is a sculptor and a photographer. He not only works with nature, but in nature. So rather than building monumental constructions on the land, it says here telepathically relates to nature. So he rearranges natural forms to enhance, but not to detract from the beauty of nature itself. So he enhances more than anything. you know, that's his goal. I've put down the site that you can have a look at his bio and some other artworks. And it might be, you know, if you do want to explore ephemeral artwork within the centre or within your classrooms, then providing visuals even of the different artworks that he has done. And you can explore other ephemeral artists, of course, but exploring the visuals and inciting their engagement that way, or inciting their interest that way might be a great idea. Okay, so what we would do, and I've just got some learning intentions here. The intention is to respond visually to artwork created by an artist, to explore natural objects to create an ephemeral sculpture, to construct freestanding sculptures or relief sculptures using objects from the environment, to work in a group, to explore shape, form and repetition. And these little sculptures here, or these sculptures here, are all created from children, okay, from students. As you can see, there's some placement there. We've got the different stones. You know, the children can even paint the stones, but using the natural colours would be a beautiful way of exploring this first. So resources: sticks, stones, leaves, pebbles, seeds, seed pods, sand, shells. Discuss and respond to Andy Goldsworthy's artworks. Questions: what has the artist used? How has he constructed this sculpture? What shapes can you see? How has the artist placed the stones, placed the leaves, placed the sand? Sculptural techniques, of course. So in pairs or groups, small groups, the students will explore their environment, collecting and gathering natural objects. Ask the students to think about how they can create freestanding sculptures using the objects they have collected. Encourage the students to explore shapes and repetition when they place or combine the natural objects. And if the children are exploring weaving, you know, weaving paper, maybe they could take it a little step further and extend that, or you can extend that by weaving the sticks in and out. I did that with the older classes, and we created quite big woven structures out of the twigs that were down at the back oval, and we hung those, you know, from the trees. Yeah, but that was for older children. You do have to be mindful of the safety, you know, requirements for early childhood. You don't want anyone, you know, sticking the stick in their eye or anything like that. All right, so let's move on. So this is this little book before. So I went walking. What did I see? So I wouldn't play the recording of this. I would narrate it myself. So that's, you know, that's coming from a Montessori type Steiner, you know, learning the book and then creating the narration, so becoming the book. So then I can pose the question: can you remember the animals looking at the little boy? Can you draw some of the animals you remember he saw on his walk? Can you think of some animals you would like to see on a walk? So I would, this is another sculptural activity. So I would provide small bottles, small boxes, paper, scissors, glue, sticky tape, paint brushes, thick markers, anything, because it's all about recycling and trying to create a sculpture out of recycled materials. Yep, technique, sculpture, elements, colour, shapes, form, maybe a little bit of repetition there, the principle. The task is in response to the pretext, and the children will choose one or some of the animals they remember from the story. So the student will create the animals using recycled materials. Cardboard, putting together cardboard, could be a flat, you know, 2D, or it could be a 3D sculpture. They can assemble and construct in pairs in order to assist each other if needed. If they're a bit older, they could do it individually, but I like them at some stage to get into small groups or pairs or larger groups to do constructions, to explore construction. And once the animal has been constructed, they can paint them, they can add to them, whatever. And once dry, add details such as eyes, nose, whiskers, ears, you know, using a variety of materials. they could be placed out in the environment. So if a little one has, or little ones have explored the duck, for instance, or the chicken or the cow, then they can be placed in and around the environment. And it can be just a rotating exhibition. All right. So another one I like to do is sand landscape. So of course, in early learning centres, we do have the sand pit, which is easily accessible for the children. I like to rake that up, and I like that to be a blank canvas for them. We might be talking about different landscapes like beachscapes, desert rainforest landscapes, could be cityscapes, but usually I stick to the very natural forms. They will explore landforms such as mountainous, mountainous ranges, rocks, forests, streams. Provide students with a variety of coloured sand or rice. So if you were doing this if you were going to colour the sand, then you can add to it with pigment, coloured pigment. So you could add to it with the Ditex dye and just leave it overnight and dye the sand and then dry it out, or, leave it for a week. Same with the rice, colouring that. Now, it's either you use the sandpit or you don't, you put it onto concrete, but this is another form of ephemeral artwork. So if you are using the coloured sand or the rice, it might be that you just lay it out on the path or on the grass, or get them to explore the sky, the landforms, the mountains, the rocks, the streams, whatever. Like it is a nice way of exploring. They're not using paint, they're not using drawing, they're creating a 2D picture using sand. Another way of doing this is actually, like I said, in the sandpit, creating a blank canvas, getting them to actually mould with their hands and sculpt the sand into mountains, into streams, from a bird's eye view, of course. Not so much a bird's eye view, a profile. So just like a canvas, which is flat, and we draw on it, we can do the horizon line, make the horizon line, we can create those mountains. So it's sort of like a sand sculpture. So just like you could do at the beach, if you did take the children to if you were lucky enough to be next to the beach, then you could, get them to draw in the sand too. It's up to you guys. But this is a really nice exploration of landforms using sand, rice, and then on the other hand, the sand pit or the beach. So if you do not have the resources, then substitute resources. You could use sticks, leaves, dirt, sand can be sculpted and shaped into mountain streams, rocks. All right. Okay, another source of, and I'm sure you've probably done this before if you have worked in OSH or you're working in OSH and you've worked in childcare before, beautiful chalk illustrations on the concrete, or chalk illustrations on the road if you've got a little road coming into your centre. The children absolutely love this. This is a form of ephemeral artwork too, because the rain washes it away, or the hose washes it away. So there's some inspirational chalk drawings from artists all over the internet, and they're absolutely stunning. That you can see, like you can provide these visuals for the children to explore, and explore their environment. What do we see when we go out walking? And it might be, I've got snails up there, so I've got a little snail here and a big snail there. We've got a little girl who's creating a picture of a flower. They might actually put it all together, as a group, and make a connection with each other's drawings. Start off individually and then do this beautiful chalk mural on the ground, and then connect the dots with their by discussing and problem solving and collaborating together. Okay, so another thing I like to do, and you might want to do this now, is which we will explore now. So I'll pause the video, the recording, and let you guys go for it. This is the bird life in our area, because of course, everywhere we go, there is bird life. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's ibis or spoonbills or rosellas or lorikeets, you know, kookaburras. We are rich in bird life in Australia, anywhere you are. The resources you need are acrylic paints, paintbrushes, paper. This is a finger painting technique, but if you don't want to get your fingers, you know, painted up at the moment, then use a paintbrush if you wish. The elements and principles are colour, shape, repetition, and texture. Learning intentions to learn how to create marks using an alternative resource, our fingers. To explore a tactile investigation of paint through finger painting, to create a composition exploring the colour, shape and form of the subject that we are painting. So take students for a walk outside amongst trees if possible to look for a variety of bird life that live in the local area. If possible, taking the students on an excursion to a wetland or botanical garden or environmental walk can be a rich source of exploration. So, or inspiration, I should say. Provide students with an array of trays filled with colour acrylic paint. The students can apply the paint by dipping their fingers into the colour of choice and applying the paint to the paper in strokes to represent the form and shape of the bird. So the feathers, they can just use their fingers in a sweeping motion, you know, and you might like to scaffold that, or you might want to get them to sort of work that out for themselves. Once dry, the students can fill in the details by using markers, thick and thin lines. The students could additionally create a collaboratively created tree, collaged or painted, cut out their birds and stick them up in or up on the tree and exhibit within the classroom. Because if you do have a nice tree, if you get them to collaborate on it, you know, the making of a tree, then you've got, you know, the beautiful birds that they can cut out themselves, and they can be sitting up in the tree. So it can really showcase, you know, what they have seen in their environment, the beautiful finger painting of their birds. So I'll let you explore that for a little while. Just remind me to turn on the recording though. I'm a bit haphazard with the recording. If you have got hypersensitive children in your class, again, these dabbers with the sponge, you know, you just, what happens is when the you know, it sort of clicks the paint through. So just like a marking pen, the paint runs in. You probably used these before. The paint runs into the sponge, and the children can create using that, you know, for the little ones who are hypersensitive to you know, they don't want to use the paint feels funny or whatever. Another thing you can use is rubber gloves. So those thin rubber gloves, I know they're not environmentally great, but they do save a lot of anxious children that, you know, that stress. They can use their rubber gloves to explore finger painting, and they still get to explore finger painting. So they're using their fine motor, they're using their problem solving skills and higher order thinking. So I'll let you explore that, the birds or bird, and then we'll come back and we'll show it on our screen, okay? All right, so I'll pause the recording for now. So you people who are watching this recording, just have a little bit of a go at exploring finger painting any of the bird life around your area. Okay, so I'll see you. Okay, how did we go? Can we have a look at these beautiful pictures? Oh, nice, Linda. That looks so good. Kookaburra?
In my attempt anyways.
Oh, it does look like a kookaburra. Oh, nice. Paris, that looks great. So what do we got? Oh, Rahil, they look great. I love these. Don't you love using your fingers? I'll show you what I come up with. I got a little bit slap happy with the tail of my bird, but I love using just the you know, sweeping your fingers across to create the feathers. And I could see that you guys did that too. Nice one. I love these. Courtney, how did you go? And Julia, Emily, Megan, Madison. I'm just wondering whether you got the resources. You mightn't have the resources, but that's okay. All right. How'd you go, Megan?
Very one-dimensional, but I'm using what I can find at work.
That's great. I love it. That's great. Nice one. All right. I'll just minimize you. Hang on. All right. Let's move on to the next piece. So creating a whole group relief mural using clay sculpture. Now, this could be an extension of that. You could get them, you could roll out some clay and get them to cut out their bird shape. An extension of the local bird life from our area. Exploration could be the creation of a collaborative mural. The students use the sculptural clay making techniques of rolling and etching. The clay is rolled out flat. The form is then cut out using soft clay, of course. Once dry, the clay pieces, the birds can be fired in a kiln. The clay can be painted with underglazes, and the birds are stuck onto a blue board or a tiling board, and then you can mosaic it. I'll just show you what that looks like. This is an example of different wildlife from our area that we actually ended up putting into our mural. I'll let you just have a little look at that first, and then I'll come back and we'll discuss. Sorry, we'll respond to this piece, okay? Okay, so having a look at that, do you think you could do something like that within your classroom? It's quite a big piece, but as you can see, the children have really done a beautiful job on their relief sculptures. And we have explored, although there's frogs and crabs and things there, and then we've got the leaves, but you can see the many, many, many different birds. There's even a fish in there, but anyway, that's okay. We were just exploring the wildlife around our area. But you can see the different birds. So they're all quite individual. Oh, there's even a butterfly there too. I forgot that was even in there. So this is up on the wall of one of the schools I worked at about 10 years ago. Yeah, but they do look great too. We've even got a spoonbill there because we're bordering on, we were bordering on wetland. So I know we're not in the studio, so we can't explore clay, but clay, once you have got your mojo with the clay, you know, and you sort of have explored it a fair bit, or just a little bit even, rolling out the clay and actually just cutting out this, that's as simple as it gets. You know, like you're just cutting out the different shapes of the animals, and then you get them fired. And you can use sister schools because you're ACU students. You can request that you have your oh gosh, hang on a moment, make sure. Oh no, good, I'm recording this. You can access ACU kilns in whatever state you are in. You just have to ask for permission to get the clay fired, the dried clay fired. But you can use acrylic paint, so mural paint. You could use glazes like this and then get them fired again, you know, so that it comes up pretty brilliantly. And yeah, and it's a resource that just it's timeless, you know. This mural is going to exist for I don't know, they'll probably be digging it up in an archaeological dig, you know, 500 years from now. Because that is the beauty of pottery. You know, it lasts, although it might be shattered, you know, in pieces, it does last forever. All right. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's something you could tackle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even cutting them out, the shapes, you know, getting the children to draw on wood and getting the shapes cut out and then nailing them to a post and putting them in your veggie patches in your school environment. You know, there's different ways that you can explore sculpture. And, you know, I don't know if anyone's done that before, where they have used the children's sculptures and, you know, you could get a dad or you could get someone to cut them out. You could cut them out with a jigsaw, you know, the different shapes of the animals and get the kids to paint them using mural paint, and they're there forever, you know, like, well, not forever, as you know, for the whole year that those children are there anyway, but they see them every day then, and it's like, it's this sense of belonging that they've actually created this, you know, part of the ELF document, you know, that belonging to their environment they've created, you know, and they're accepted. Their artwork is there. It's part of them. It's part of their meaning making. It's part of their exploration. All right, so let's have a little look. Exhibitions. So school and visual and performing arts exhibition is a great chance to showcase. So having an annual one, allowing the students to respond to artworks on display by leaving comments, or, you know, taking photographs and getting them to respond that way is always great because it adds to their literacies, okay, promotes great visual literacies. And the use of colour in your landscape displays the warm colours of the desert. I've just got an example of what they might say. And this one, it actually is an example of what a child said at one of the art exhibitions at St. Pius Primary School. So they, you know, they do learn the literacies and they do impress you with how much they know about artworks. So, you know, once you are creating that dialogue with the children and you are getting them to, you know, deconstruct artwork and respond to it, reconstruct it through their eyes, walking in the shoes of someone else, being empathetic to the subjects within the paintings, you know, it's a really, really enriched way of promoting and supporting their literacies. Okay, so they could respond through videos, audios as the students walk around the exhibition. They could get their iPads out, they could do a running commentary on it, and then you can have a look at that yourself. Community art competitions, exhibitions, the local library exhibits. You know, the local library puts up, if you've got work that you would like to be put on display, the local library is usually more than happy to display the work of the local community children. We are always getting requests for, you know, children's artwork at the library. Okay, and then we have, this is an art exhibition, and as you can see, we've got some little ones here who are viewing the artworks. Beautiful way to actually explore their artwork and the artworks of others through an annual art exhibition. Hopefully you'll get enough funding to actually put these on. The hire of these boards, or you buy these boards, or we've had fathers who've made exhibition boards before for us and mothers who have made exhibition boards for us so we can display the artwork. All right. So this is another way, this is another mural. So our mosaic mural, the children actually created the path we are going to walk on and the path we've walked. They created these little mini sculptures of their faces. They put this all together. These are bought, of course, these little pebbly things. These were bought, and the little tiles were donated. Oops, sorry, clicked on. They created this. They used stamps to put into the clouds. Just absolutely stunning. They did a fantastic job, but this was a full cohort collaboration. So 3 years, 7 classes, and they put it together nicely. So it was about a 6-month project to get that up and going, and it's the size of the stairwell wall, and it's still on display. Like I said, it's going to last forever. So discuss in small groups how you could explore this theme with your future students. So when I go walking, or when we go walking, connect the ELF outcomes or the Australian curriculum, F to 2. Consider artworks created by artists. So you might know of some. I'm going to break you off into your breakout groups, and you can discuss what medium and techniques could you explore. The E's off that one. What medium and techniques could you explore? You know, you might have, as we have gone on in the tutorial, what has sort of come to mind? How else could you use this theme when we go walking? You know, you might be somewhere in Australia where it's really bushy and you go for a bushwalk, you know, things like that. Let's try and spark a conversation within our groups, and then we'll come back as a whole group. Okay, so I'll break you off into breakout groups, and I'll let you discuss. You might talk about the connections to the ELF outcomes too. All right, how many people have we got? We'll break off into 3 groups. Okay, I'll see you soon. Okay, how did we go? What did we talk about?
Our group spoke about drawing the clouds, maybe like exploring the different clouds, especially going out on a day where there's lots of clouds. So we came up with like maybe 2 activities, getting like on colored paper using like white or gray crayons, and they could draw the clouds that they see, or getting them to use cotton balls and sort of making the clouds themselves.
Yeah, great. I love it. Yep, nice one. What about the other groups? Linda, who was in your group?
Julia, Kamal, and I can't remember what the 4th person was, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Paris, what did your group come up with?
We actually didn't come up with like too much or anything. We just talked about like the early year learning outcomes.
Oh, good. Okay.
So
So
yeah.
you made a connection with what we have been talking about?
Yeah, Megan, who's in my group, she talked about, she works in the childcare center, and she talked about how she's near like a
nature reserve.
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry.
Yeah. Nice,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. Oh, good, Megan. So do the kids and you go out for walks near the nature reserve?
Yeah, we do. We're quite lucky we back onto it. Unfortunately, though, our centre's changed our policies, and to be able to get out there, it's quite time consuming to do all the risk assessment
paperwork,
that kind of stuff. But before, we used to go out there every week. So we don't get out as much as I like to anymore. But
it's crazy. Workplace health and safety. It's just paperwork after paperwork, isn't it? Yes. Oh, well, I guess if you're sitting on the edge, maybe the bird life will come to you anyway. And I'm guessing you've got reptiles coming to you.
Not so much reptiles, more the birds. We have like plovers and magpies and stuff that they like to watch through the fence. So. Yeah,
nice one. Yep, great. Thank you. And anybody else in the last group? What did you guys come up with? What were you talking about? Don't be shy. No? Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next slide then. Okay, so this is a response to work now. Although we responded to the Andy Goldsworthy video and the ephemeral work within there, this is actually a response to a painting by John Brack. It's called Collins Street at 5 p.m. and the people who are living in Melbourne or Victoria might relate to this. You know, you might be from all over Australia and you still relate to this, whether you're in Sydney or whatever. But this particular painting depicts exactly what it says, Collins Street at 5 p.m. So in discussing or responding to a piece of work, you're trying to incite a lot of dialogue, a lot of discussion, okay? So not using closed questions, but using open-ended questions. So, and you're tapping into their prior knowledge too. So if they are children who come from the city, then they may have been involved in, you know, walking down a city street. If you have a country school, you still might be able to tap into their prior knowledge of walking in a city, what it's like, you know, how busy it can be at peak hour. So where are these people walking to? What do you think? Where do you think they're walking to? There's a lot of them and they were all walking in one direction. So where do you guys think they're walking to?
The train station.
That would be my guess too, the train station. I think, do you think that it would be peak time and they're heading home maybe? Or maybe it could be the opposite. It could be peak time going to. So why are they walking in the same direction? You've just said walking to the station. Could there be any other reasons why these people are walking in one direction?
Maybe they're waiting to vote, like a polling thing.
Could be. They could be in a line, couldn't they? Yep. Okay, is this painting depicting people in the city or the country? And why? Why do you say this? Now, I already gave it away because I said Collins Street in Melbourne. So we will say the city, of course. But when you're talking to children, they will probably pick up that, yep, okay, I say the city because there's buildings. I say the city because they look like they're going somewhere and it's busy, you know, like, and it's not a country town. Okay, so look at the differing facial expressions and discuss. So let's have a look at their facial expressions. Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they angry? What's going on? Have a look at this lady here. What do you think she's feeling?
I mean, kind of like all blank, really. They all just look really bored.
Yeah, and why do you say that?
I mean, they're not smiling or anything.
Smart. Yeah, they're pretty stern.
Yeah.
They're not, do they look like they're conversing with each other?
No, not at all.
They're just eye on the prize and they want to get there. And that's probably what the children will say too. You know, if you're looking at it, they might say, oh, well, they're angry. And then you ask them, why do you think they're angry? And they might come up with a whole lot of things. Maybe it's a drizzly day and they're stuck in the rain. Maybe it's too crowded and they can't get to the place they want to get to without navigating other people and so on. They'll come up with a whole lot of responses, believe me, and they'll come up with stories. So here's another one. And this is bringing in cross-curriculum priorities, Australian, Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander connections. So this one is called Fire Dreaming by Malcolm Maloney Jagamara. Walkabout refers to a rite of passage. So this is about walkabout. And it is a rite of passage during which males would undergo a journey during adolescence and live in the wilderness for a period of as long as 6 months. So there's a little bit of history there and talking about the paths that they take or the song lines. It talks a bit about the ancestors and the ancestors and the tracks they have taken. So there's a lot quite a lot going on in that picture. But asking children to respond, what do you think the artist would, you know, of course they're talking about tracks we take. If you were walking along the tracks that the artist has drawn here, what might you see? And they might come up with, well, it might be the colours are desert colours, they're warm colours. Maybe we might see emus, maybe we might see kangaroos, maybe we might have to cross a stream, maybe we might have to go over a mountain, you know, like, so they'll come up with lots and lots of different explorations. All right, so this one, another Indigenous Australian artwork. This one is called Grandmother's Journey. And I would ask them, what is a journey? What is a journey? And they might say, well, it's a long walk. You might take a plane to go on a journey. It's a long way away. I would ask them what colour scheme has Mari used, because this one's called by Mari Naparula. And I've just got her birth date there, 1968. Has Mari used warm or cool colours? And they might reply with, well, warm colours. Why? Why warm colours? Why do you think they're warm colours? And they might say, well, it's depicting a desert scene again, maybe. The warm colours are reds, yellows and oranges. And they might talk about that spectrum because they've got that prior knowledge. They might talk about how they are thinking, you know, the placement of the colours. It looks like there's paths intertwining. What shapes can you see? So they might come up with some circular shapes, so circles. There might be, they might say, well, there are some oval shapes there too, and you know, so on. There's some irregular shapes, there's some regular shapes, there's some spirals. What might they represent now? Thinking about their prior knowledge, because you might have explored a Australian traditional artwork before, and they might say, well, the circles might mean meeting places, they might mean water holes, they might mean mountains where people meet, the paths along the way, they might depict, you know, again, mountains, rocks. Yeah, so you're just tapping into their prior knowledge. Now, of course, I like to give them the background of the paintings. So Maria's artwork is a traditional artwork, and it does look into the iconography of that area. It depicts the physical and spiritual journey that her grandmother took, and her grandmother travelled from place to place. And Maria has imagined the tracks and the stopping points that her grandmother must have made as she crossed the hot and arid landscape. So, you know, maybe saying this after you've questioned or before you've questioned, whatever way you want the children to respond. I like to try and get their perception first, and then I'll tell them the story, and then I'll repeat the questions. So let's move on. Oh, that's it. That's it for tonight. So that was our responding activities there. Are there any questions about tonight? Otherwise, what is the time? 7:04. I think we have made a good, you know, exploration of this subject, or this title, or this theme, I should say. When we go walking, there's much more that you can do and explore with this. So it's really open-ended, and it's a real beautiful inquiry-based, student-centered, but teacher-steered, you know, in some parts, exploration. So a nice, you know, you could really explore integration nicely with this theme. So a bit of science, HAS, you know, literacy, of course, maths, like you made a comment before, when we're looking at the ephemeral artwork. There's lots and lots of things we can explore. So I'll say good night, and I'll leave you be, and we'll talk some more next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
See you.